You're watching CW Montana. This is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on your Tuesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Across the state tonight, a refugee family from the Congo finally able to lay down roots and live out the American dream right here in Montana. We'll have their story in just a bit. Plus, another candidate jumps into the ring for Secretary of State. We'll tell you who that is. But first, an early morning fire in West Yellowstone sends fireballs 150 feet in the air, totally destroying one business and leaving 7 people without a home. Now, that fire took hours to contain and saw crews from 3 states respond. Now, that response kept the flames from destroying more buildings and maybe even taking some lives. MTN's Chet Lehman has the details.
We know we had an early morning commercial fire started in a mechanical shop here. By the time our crews got on scene, the fire was fully involved. We had smoke and flame showing out the roof structure.
The fire was reported around 3 o'clock by a West Yellowstone police officer. The shop housed 5 snow coaches, and all the tools, tanks, and fuels needed to service them. Nearby residents say the fireballs were shooting 150 feet in the air. Debris could be found a block away from the scene. Crews were able to save a hotel that shared space with a shop, but they couldn't save everything. 2 trailers completely destroyed, as was the shop and all of the contents in this alley behind me. What was the cause? That's a question to be answered by the state fire marshal.
The entire building was a loss. We have the state fire marshal coming down to do the investigation on that. So I can't really comment to the cause and origin of the fire right now. What I can say is that we lost the commercial building and 2 residential trailer houses the people were living in and are displaced from this morning.
It took crews hours to bring the blaze under control, and those crews came from 3 states.
We had Big Sky Fire come down with a couple engines and some command, and helped out tremendously. We had Island Park come over with 5 individuals and 2 engines, and we also had an engine from Old Faithful come in.
Now, the owner of the shop lost 5 snow coaches just weeks before the winter season begins in West Yellowstone. No word on how long the investigation into the cause of the fire will take. In West Yellowstone, Chet Lehman, MTN News.
Thanks, Chet. And Chet tells us there were no injuries, and because the winter season is still a few weeks away, no guests were staying in the neighboring hotel. Well, the trial for a former Madison County sheriff accused of removing methamphetamine from a crime scene is now underway. Roger Thompson is charged with official misconduct, tampering with evidence, and perjury after a controlled drug buy in 2017. Thompson denies all charges. Prosecutors say Sheriff Thompson made an arrangement with an Ennis man who was caught with methamphetamine. Now, the suspect agreed to be a confidential informant and helped take down a drug dealer in Madison County. But court documents state when the informant showed up for the first controlled drug buy, the informant already had meth with him. Prosecutors say once found with the drugs, the confidential informant should have been arrested, but wasn't. Now, the defense says Thompson may not have done things the way the state wanted, but that doesn't make it a crime. The sentencing of a former Lewis and Clark County deputy who pleaded guilty to sexual exploitation of a child has been delayed. This morning in federal court, Virgil Wolf requested a new attorney and said his counsel was ineffective and exposed him to a potentially longer sentence. The judge ordered a new public defender in the case. Now, Wolf was arrested in Cascade County after his victim disclosed the abuse to a counselor. The girl told authorities Wolf started abusing her when she was young and continued into her teens. Investigators also found nude pictures of the victim on Wolf's computers and camera memory card. Now, Wolf served as a deputy for the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office between 1999 and 2008. Well, right now here in Montana, if you complete your criminal sentence or even if you're exonerated of your crime, you may still show up on the state's public ConWeb database for another 3 years. Ex-offenders and their supporters say this can be a significant barrier to finding a job or even housing. But as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, the state's policy is about to change.
Jerry Marble of Conrad has a son who's no longer under state supervision for a 7-year-old drug conviction, and another son who's been exonerated on a rape charge and freed from prison. But they're still listed on ConWeb, the state's public website and database of criminal offenders.
For my sons and anyone, it affects their employment opportunities. It affects their their housing opportunities. After they've fulfilled their debt to society, they're released from the Department of Corrections. They're no longer subject to the Department of Corrections. Then why should they be on that list?
Marble asked state corrections officials a year ago to take his sons off the list, but they would not. But last week, after inquiries from NTN News, the department said it has changed its mind. As of January 1st next year, the Department of Corrections says it will remove from ConWeb any ex-offender whose sentence is completed or who is no longer under agency supervision. Correction officials say they're responding to concerns raised by ex-offenders and that the move could help people stay clean and out of the correctional system. Zeke Campfield of the Missoula Interfaith Collaborative says having ex-cons on ConWeb was never a good idea and went beyond the sentence decided by a judge.
A judge never decided that someone had to carry this badge on their chest beyond the limits of the sentence that they were given. And so what we're doing here is we're actually continuing the punishment beyond what a judge has decided the punishment needs to be. The
department began ConWeb in 2002 and had made an administrative decision to keep offenders on the system for 3 years after their release. But some of the people still on ConWeb include people whose entire conviction has been overturned, but it still lists them as released. But starting this January, they'll no longer be listed at all. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike. Now, the director of the Montana Innocence Project commended the department today for, as he put it, doing the right thing. Well, today another Republican joined the race for Montana Secretary of State, bringing the total number of GOP candidates to 4. This newest candidate already holds a statewide office. Supreme Court Clerk Bowen Greenwood announced his candidacy today in Helena. Now, Greenwood says he's running because it's important for Republicans to hang on to the Secretary of State seat and its election overseeing powers. He says he has experience working in the office and is a proven conservative and has already shown he can win a statewide election. The other Republicans in the race are Senate President Scott Sales of Bozeman, Deputy Secretary of State Christy Jacobson, and State Representative Forrest Mandeville of Columbus. But Greenwood says he won't be criticizing his primary opponents.
You know, I'm not here to run against anybody. I am going to get to the primary, and you're never going to hear me say a negative word about any of those folks in public. I think they're fine human beings. We generally agree. But I don't think any of them have exactly the same combination that I do of abilities and experience that will help us win the election.
Now, the only Democrat in the race for open Secretary of State seat is State Representative Bryce Bennett of Missoula. And remember, today is Election Day for cities across our state. Join your local MTN station at 10 o'clock for the latest results in those elections. Well, it is time to take to the skies. An 8th airline will begin flying into Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport this spring. Sun Country Airlines of Minneapolis will begin twice-a-week service between Minneapolis and Bozeman on June 3rd. A new direct flight is a nice addition for Bozeman, but the airport's trying to attract an even bigger prize, Southwest Airlines. But this latest addition will not only help that quest, but also provide a big boost for the community.
I think anytime that we have, kind of a high-profile ad into our market, it makes it more likely in the future for other airlines to be looking at our market.
From what we've seen, for every time we open a new direct flight and a new direct market, we see multiple businesses and multiple homeownerships that come results of that.
Now, Sun Country will offer flights as low as $89 each way. There will be one flight to Minneapolis and one flight to Bozeman on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Well, a family that came to Missoula as refugees from the Congo will now get to live out the American dream in the community they love. The Lamonas, a family of 6, will now own its first home thanks to Habitat for Humanity. 19 families applied for 2 homes, and the Missoula Habitat for Humanity announced the Lamonas were chosen because they best fit the Habitat's criteria of need and readiness. With the help of the nonprofit organization, the family will purchase this home with an interest-free mortgage.
They're so excited. They have 4 little kids. They just need space to ride a tricycle around, have a yard of their own, have a space of their own. So I think this is just a wonderful opportunity for them, and they are just really grateful and excited. Habitat for Humanity hopes to have the Lamonas in their home a year from now.
Well, the annual Montana Folk Festival in Butte is a hit with visitors from out of state. The festival has long been popular with Montana residents, but organizers say about 65% of the attendees this year came from somewhere outside Montana. Previous festivals show about 25% of visitors came from out of state. Now, the city says this increase is good because out-of-state visitors tend to spend more money.
They have to rent rooms, they have to buy gas, they have to buy dinner. It's just a bigger result for the tourism dollar if people are coming from out of state.
Organizers believe the reason for the rise in number of out-of-state guests is a broader marketing campaign. Now, the festival will return again next summer, July 10th through the 12th. Still to come on tonight's Statewide MTN News, Finding His Voice, a unique speech therapy class opens a whole new world for a young Big Fork boy. But first, how's that weather looking, Bob?
Well, Jeanelle, it was a beautiful day across almost all of Montana, except for one little thing. It's an Arctic cold front, and that Arctic cold front continues to push its way down towards southern Montana, bringing more rain, snow, and freezing rain along with it. We'll have more about that coming up after the break.